Welcome to the Pest Empire Builder podcast. On today's episode, we're talking about going from $0 to $10 million a year in less than 7 years. Well, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you tuned in today on Pest Empire Builder podcast. Today we have Josh, who has built a significant company in a relatively short amount of time. Josh, how are you doing today?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate the opportunity to tell a little bit of my story.
Right? You get to kill bugs all day. I mean, it just doesn't get any better than that, man. So you started this company 7-ish years ago, and what got you into pest control, and why did you choose to start a pest control business?
So my partner and I started this 7.5 years ago. But just like most people, I fell into pest control. It wasn't something I set out to do.
Like you didn't, as a little kid, you weren't dreaming about like killing bugs for a living?
I mean, I was killing bugs as a little kid. I grew up in
Right?
a house full of roaches and mice, and I grew up pretty poor. So, I was doing the pest control.
You've been doing pest control since you were like 5.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I've been being trained my entire life.
I've trained my entire life for this.
Yeah. No, it was funny. I remember my grandpa mixing up some stuff for my mom, and then I'm walking around the house in shorts and a t-shirt spraying it. And, thinking back, it was probably malathion and
Oh my
diazinon or
God.
something,
That was some
but it was terrible.
And I know we kind of started joking, but you fell
Uh,
into it, and like, how'd you fall into it?
Actually, I was one of those kids that I just didn't know what I wanted to be. My grandpa was a firefighter, and actually at a young age, I saved a life, and then I experienced, I almost saved a life, and he ended up dying. But I got, I felt like, um, this higher purpose there that I needed to do something to save people in some sense. And so I started going to school for outside of high school to become a firefighter. And then I got lost and I kind of fell out of that. And I actually ended up doing landscaping for a bit. And I really enjoyed the creativity as not mowing lawns or trimming shrubs, but getting into the design side of it.
Yeah.
And I've always been a creative person. So when I got over there and I started designing landscapes and I started moving up, I really enjoyed it a lot. So I started going to night school while I was working full time. And I responded to an ad in a paper because I needed to make more money while I was doing all of this. And I needed a bigger opportunity. So I responded to an ad in a paper for landscape designer. And the number was wrong. And it ended up being a pest company. And so I don't know if
That's
that was this
hilarious.
guy's whole scam all along, but because nobody wants to be a bug guy, I guess.
Right.
We're trying to make that cool now. But I called, and the guy was charismatic. He talked me into coming down and at least meeting with him. And I went to work for him. Like I thought, I can make some decent money doing this. It's a new challenge. Let me check it out. I'll give it 6 months, a year, and see where we're at. I'll go to school at night, and I've been in it ever since. Is what 25 years later.
So a wrong number on a job posting led you to a different company that got you into pest control.
Yeah, so
That has
who
got to
knows where I
be
would have
the
ended up.
wildest I fell into this story that I've heard so far. That is something else. And the rest is history, as they say.
That's it,
Yeah.
man. So it led to all of this.
All right, man. So now you've got like over 50 employees. You've got trucks all over the north end of California now. You got multiple offices. All this has happened in about 7-ish, 8 years now. And I mean, I got to tell you, man, that sounds like incredibly rapid growth. How did you handle that kind of rapid growth?
Um, you know, I it I'm somebody who gets bored real easy, so
Mm-hmm.
I've got to stay on with things that are exciting. So growth has really, really fed me. It comes with a lot of challenges when you're moving that fast. You want to make sure the wheels don't come off the thing. So
Uh-huh.
we've had to pull back at times, and then I'll fall into, not a depression, but I'll get into a funk, and then we start pushing again, and I start feeling excited again. But it was kind of wild. We did exactly what we set out to do. Like we've hit
Hmm.
every goal along the way, year after year after year. So it was intentional that we were going to hit these numbers, but we didn't have the best plan put in place,
Hmm.
or it was fast and loose. And I think we won a lot early on just from tenacity and being relentless. And then we figured out systems along the way, which actually worked out really, really well for us. So I don't think we'd operate the way we do today if it wasn't for that relentlessness in the beginning and just going after it.
Yeah. Wow. And so going from like 0 employees up to 50 something employees, were you ever in leadership positions before this where you were managing people or leading people?
Yeah, so initially I coached high school basketball for a while, and I kind of fell into that too. I mean, I grew up playing basketball and I loved it, but I was an introvert, and I was passionate on the court, but as far as being a vocal leader or any of that stuff, that
Yeah.
wasn't me. And my daughter started playing AAU basketball, and then the AAU coach started having me around. I started helping a lot of the kids, and he actually coached the high school team. So he asked me to be his freshman coach one year, and I did it, and it was way out of my comfort zone. And then we did really well, and I saw all these kids grow, and I just got addicted to helping people uh, grow and develop. And then I was a technician for a long time, and I eventually moved into a leadership position. And once I got my first leadership position, they saw me as the technician. I wasn't like the vocal peer leader as a technician within the group. But once I got my first opportunity as a supervisor, I excelled through the company immediately because it opened up that whole side of me. And now where they were kind of their conversations where the guys are, with the guys are like, hey, this is how you kill ants. This is what, there
Hmm.
wasn't a whole lot of leadership behind it. And then I went right into locker room speech. My first opportunity to speak to the group, it was, we're running through walls, and then it changed the group.
Yeah.
And so very quickly I moved to a branch manager, and then I became basically a regional manager. I managed multiple branches
Okay.
with their expansion into the Bay Area, which comes with its own complications. It's not as easy as Sacramento. So I learned a lot through all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's learning your leadership skills and coaching a team like that. It really translates over to business leadership all the time. Those moments, right? Yeah, and so that's funny. Yeah, maybe it was child abuse when we were younger, but I don't know, man. It made us tough, bro. It made us tough, and if you're going to be in business, if you're going to own a company, if you're going to run teams and staff, you got to be tough. You got to have thick skin and it's a tough balance, I think, because you got to be able to have thick skin, but also have a soft heart.
Yeah, I'm a super empathetic person, and I have a huge heart. I want to help everybody. So
Yeah,
I've
I'm the
had to
same way.
develop some thick skin, but not let it like change me in a way to where it's hardened. So, but one of our core values is love people, and I surround myself by a lot of people who love people. But we've had to learn that loving people is also having those hard conversations and drawing some hard lines sometimes, and getting rid of some people that we truly care about, but because they can't make changes, they're harming the people around them. I've had to do a lot of that, and then deal with the repercussions. They were close with this guy, or they were a family member with somebody else, and sorry, we have to. I'm going to protect the whole versus one person here. If they're toxic, or they're fighting our standards or whatever, um, they just can't be here.
Right. Oh, man, that is so important too. And you're right. Cause I mean, as business owners, I'm looking at my staff, I got a bunch of people, and it's not just them, but it's also their spouses and their kids. And all these people are hitching their wagon to my horse. They're all saying, okay, we're all going to join this team. And, we're providing jobs and income, and we're providing for an entire family. And if one person is screwing things up in the office, you have to look at all these people and go, okay, all these employees plus their spouses, we're not going to let you take down everyone or damage everybody's reputation or whatever. Not you're going to damage the company's reputation, which is going to damage everybody in it. Just because of your dysfunction or your hurt or your defects or your trauma or your just whatever, your just bad performance that might be, you got to be able to make those hard decisions. And it stinks because I've had to let go somebody that was a friend of mine that I'd brought on. And he was making some bad decisions and it was impacting the reputation of the business, and we had to get rid of him. And, and it's like, man, you can't let that one bad apple ruin the bunch.
I've had to fire family. One of my best friends growing up, I had to fire. It's hard.
It is hard. And you want to have grace for these people, and you have some amount, but there's also a boundary that you have to hold as well. And that is love. That is loving people.
It is. It's, and I'm quick to have a hard conversation these days because I want to head it off as quickly as possible. I also want to be very fair to them. I want them, because I've corrected a lot of people, and we have as a team, by identifying it early on and bringing it to their attention. And oh man, I didn't realize I was coming across that way.
Yeah.
And some people have just, I've worked for other companies where all they did was complain. That was just their culture. And then you hire a guy over here who was a part of something like that. And that's perfect. That's natural to them. So you have to change those habits in them.
Yep.
Which is hard if they work for a company for 10 years and everybody just complained about every process. And we've turned some guys around. We've really turned them around. And others they couldn't get away from it.
Yeah.
And they became like poison in the pond.
Yeah. And so you mentioned something a few minutes ago about your values, and you have one of your core values. And I think it's so important to have those clearly defined, clearly outlined for core values and what your culture is going to be in your business. Because then you're able to go, like, my company is called Duke City Inspections, but it's like, hey, that's not the Duke City way. That's not how we do things here. Here, this is, we approach life with optimism, not pessimism. Here we are the thermostat. We're not the thermometer. The thermometer can tell you the temperature of the room. The thermostat reads the temperature of the room and changes it. And so you can read the temperature of the room, right? You can be pessimistic. You can go, oh, this sucks. But guess what? We're not thermometers. We're thermostats, and thermostats change it. So, that's how we do things here. And so you're able to hold people to like a standard of culture and values to be able to know, okay, like, when people start complaining, it's like, yeah, you sound like a thermometer, and remember, we're thermostats here. And so it's easy. I mean, I just tell you, like, having that written out like that, when you said that, I was like, yeah, it's so important to have that stuff done.
No, it really is. And no knock on other people, but some people will just throw a couple core values around. You can clearly tell that yours are thought out. And so ours happened through the evolution of the company. So every core value came through some leap in growth in the company, and we go, what led to that? And we identified it within the company, and then we're like, okay, we made that a core value. So in the beginning, the first year, we made one core value, and that was it. And then we developed another and another, and we have 6 now. And they really tie into who we are because they came from here, from us.
Yes.
And now, the more we focus on hiring, firing, and promoting based off of those core values, the more success we've had. And anytime we deviated from that because, we're like, hey, we really just need to fill this role, it bites us in the butt every time. Every time.
Yeah, absolutely. You got to have a great recruiting process and selecting process for when you're trying to get new candidates and new talent on your team. And when you're able to have your stuff clearly defined, it gives you the filter and the framework for you to bring the right people on. Because I don't know about you, but I've hired people in the past where I'm like, I just have a great feeling about them.
Yeah.
And then it's like, man, they're not a great fit at all. Whereas
going through one of those right now.
Yeah. Right. And so then it's like, man, well, if I have the filtration place of core values and what my values, my vision, my mission, and my culture are going to be, if you have it really clearly defined, then you go, okay, I can ask questions in the interview process that help me understand, like, yeah, they're amazing people. I have a great feeling about them, but they don't actually line up with these elements of our business. And it gives us that ability to get the right people on board. And then same thing, holding people accountable. If on day one, they understand this is the framework of our business. And then as they're going through, it's like, hey man, you're drifting a little, remember, this is one of our core values. You're kind of drifting a little. I need to make sure we pull you back in alignment so we all stay on the same page. And then all of a sudden we have this document and this this plumb line, if you will, this to be able to like say, oh, okay, this is where we're anchoring our company to, and you already have that. And I love how you started with one, and then as the company grew, you like discovered what are other values that are coming along the way in this. I think that's such a fantastic thing to do, and it really helps every business grow. And some people, you're right. Some people like they take generic ones and they like put it on the wall and they never talk about it.
Yeah, and they can't even tell you. I was at dinner once at an event, an industry event, and I was talking about our core values. And I always tell stories about how they came about, and I'm passionate about it. And I'm talking to this guy, and he's president of another company. He says, "Oh yeah, we got core values too." He's all, "Yeah, we've had those for quite a few years." And I go, "Oh, okay, what are they?" And he's like, he looks over at his wife. He goes, "What are our core values?" He like whispers to her.
Yeah.
So like they're obviously not operating within that and like holding people accountable based on core values or anything. They're just something on the wall.
Yeah. And I
And
think
one of the
it's,
most common ones that I see, and it's not, if anybody takes offense to this, I'm sorry, but it's probably on 90% of people's core values is integrity. And
yeah, that's one of
I
mine.
feel like you have to have, that's a prerequisite,
Yeah.
like you have to have integrity to be on any great team.
They want a leader that's real. They want an
Yeah.
authentic leader. Like I've screwed this up. Real story. Last pay period. I still run payroll in my company. That's one of the last things that I do. Everything else is kind of run by everybody else. And so I'm hoping to get that off my plate soon. Last payroll period, we went to go run it, and I screwed it up. So one guy got paid too much money. Everybody else got paid a little bit less. And just it's 100% on me. I made a mistake. Ran the whole payroll thing. We sent it out. Paychecks are hitting on Friday, and somebody says, "I think this isn't right." And so comes back up to me, my desk, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I totally screwed up payroll." And so then I figured it all out. I sent an email out to the entire staff right away. "Hey guys, I got to own this. I made a miscalculation, honest mistake. We're going to work really hard to figure this out and fix it. I promise you I'm going to make this right, but like, just own it. Just own it. Like, don't sweep it under the rug. And then everybody goes like, yeah, okay, Matt made a mistake. I'm human.
Yep.
Everybody's human. Like, and so we give each other grace for the mistakes that we make. And then, you still got to make it right. But yeah, like you got to give each other grace. You got to live in the light. People want a leader who's authentic and real.
Yeah.
And not perfect.
Well, and that's your opportunity to show them how much you care too. I've messed
Yeah.
up on payroll a couple times, and and I'll hand deliver them a check if I need to with the difference, just to show them how much I care, because that's the last thing I want to mess with is their income.
Yep.
And I don't want them questioning that in any way. But back to the core values, like you were saying, I love that you have them all written out. I don't have every single one of them, but I have a few of them. And one of our first core value was whatever it takes. And it
Mm.
was because in the beginning, when I managed for another company, I had a big team, and I loved that. And it was really hard to step away from that to start my own thing.
Yeah.
And what I found is I wanted to get back to that as quickly as possible. I just wanted to build something in my vision, and I was fighting some visionary stuff there. Sorry. Um, and the company was changing a bit, and it didn't necessarily align with how I felt, and I was becoming a stronger visionary at that point, and I was getting more and more passionate about certain things. And it's their company to run however they want. It wasn't wrong, it just didn't align with where I was looking at going.
Yep.
So I had to get back to that as fast as possible. So our first core value is whatever it takes. We're going to do everything to get this thing off the ground. And so part of that was taking on some of the most difficult problems we could find. Like, where if other companies couldn't solve the issue, we were going to solve it. And we were gonna work through problems to be successful. We were going to be persistent in prospecting to gain business. And it took a like a barbaric mindset. We had to go. And but what I didn't want is for people's lives to be out of whack to where they were, you know, giving too much and then it was taken away from their family. So whatever it takes started to become, guys working ridiculous hours, and I wasn't looking for that. So I had to have a meeting with the team, and I had to write a statement of what it is and what it isn't. So they could be very clear on, like, okay, whatever it takes isn't necessarily working a 24-hour shift, because I had two guys do that, and I didn't even know. They were working on a bird project, and it was right down the street from my house too. and I checked on them about 5 o'clock. They were, they were going to wrap up, and I went home, and then I get on social media the next morning, or as a matter of fact, my ex wife did, and she goes, "Hey, did you see so and so's post?" And I go, "No," and it's my cousin because her husband was working for me, and she said something like, "I can't believe that they had him work over a 24-hour shift like that. Who does that?" And I'm like, what?
Wow.
I don't know anything about this. So I call them, and they're still out at the job site, and they were like, no, we just decided we were just going to power through and get it done. And I go, I didn't ask that of you, and I didn't approve that. So, here I'm, you know,
Yeah.
I have somebody on social media and a family member that's upset with me and that doesn't even know the full story. I didn't expect that, but they were doing whatever it takes, right?
Right.
So I had to have a real hard conversation with them there, and I had to make it really clear with my entire team that is not. So I felt compelled to write this. This is not what it is,
Yep.
to everybody, so we could make sure that aligned properly. And then later, I was listening to Ed Milet, one of his podcasts, and he was talking about the idea of life balance,
Oh yeah.
and and when your family's bought into it, like my fiance is, she runs my entire office team. I mean, really, she's a lot more than that. She's my right hand. I mean, when I go on vacation, if I go to an event and I'm gone, like I was in Pest World last week, she was in charge,
Yep.
so she's running things. But she lives it just as I do. We have a hard time. We have to create some rules to not talk about it for a short period of time at dinner,
Yeah.
just so we can talk about the other. But we're so passionate about it, we go right back to like, oh, this is going on. Oh, what if we did this? And we've solved so many problems on the drive home or at dinner.
Uh-huh.
And it just makes us so much more powerful. My daughters, all three of my older kids are working for the company, and then I have my 8-year-old daughter who's growing up in the company.
That's cool.
And when we get together, that's the things we talk about. We're passionate about it.
Yep.
We love it. We
Yeah.
still talk about family stuff and all of that and hobbies and everything else, but it's incorporated into it. I don't feel like we're like juggling, like, oh, like, oh, we're over here too much or any of that. It's just all together. It's just married together, and it works really well.
That works really well, especially if everybody's on the same page and they understand that that's how the life is. And and that's super important. And congrats on having your kids and fiance involved, and they all like it and they enjoy it and they're passionate about it and it's fun for them. And that's really cool.
I've experienced the other side. I know how that feels when there's like, can
I
you just
have
shut up
too.
about work?
Yeah, I've had the other side as well. Yeah, I was married for a long time, went through a divorce, but in the first marriage, it was, it wasn't congruent like that, and so,
It's a superpower when you have it. It really is. I mean,
yeah,
I
absolutely.
feel like I'm capable of anything because I have that support throughout my entire family.
Yeah, yeah, that is really really cool. Yeah, and so some people have that, and that's probably helped you grow the company as big as it is. And I hope one day to find a spouse like that. That would be really incredible.
They're out there. I got one.
I know. Yeah, I do know they're out there, and I just pray that God brings it at the right time, at the right place. Until then, I'm just focusing on myself and my business. But yeah, like I do think it's a superpower if you find the right connection.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah. Yeah, it really, really is. So this has been an interesting interview. It didn't go the way I thought it was going to go. I'm not going to lie, but this was incredible content. And it really, we touched deep on some of the core values and stuff like that. I know that there's a lot of other stuff about you that we didn't even get to on the podcast. So maybe we'll have to get you on a different episode to catch up on some of those other things. But
Yeah, I feel like we could talk about a lot of things.
I
We can
know,
go in a
for a
lot of
long time.
directions. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, but I know there's people that are listening and they're like, man, how'd you go from $0 to $10 million so quickly? I know that they probably have even more questions about how did you conquer these types of issues? How'd you get past these hurdles? If someone wants to get a hold of you, ask you more questions or just get to know you, what's the best way for someone to get a hold of you?
Instagram is usually the best place. A lot of people have reached out to me there, and I'm telling you, I'm an open book. So please reach out. I'm happy to help. But it's at Josh_Pest Pros. Um, or you can go to my website, www.pestprosps.com. But Instagram is going to be the best place to reach me.
Love it, man. Well, man, thank you so much for being on the show today, Josh. This has been a great episode, and we're gonna have to do this again sometime for
Yeah,
round
I'm
two.
down for that, man. I'd love to talk more. I've learned a lot from you as well. So it's been a cool episode.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, great. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you next time.